Guy Ritchie is quite a distinctive director with a recognizable style. His early works in cinema were well received by both critics and general audiences. The budgets for these films were small, and they managed to break even at the box office without much trouble. Then Madonna entered Guy Ritchie's life, and he seemed to lose his footing, directing in 2002 an intense survival drama about life on a deserted island, starring Madonna herself. For some reason, the film didn't resonate with anyone and became the director's first box office failure. After Swept Away, Ritchie solidified his losing streak by directing 2 more consecutive flops. While audiences tried hard to forget the Madonna survival movie, which according to rumors she actually directed herself, American critics began to treat Guy Ritchie with disdain, giving mediocre ratings to his films. Ritchie managed to save his career with Sherlock Holmes, which unexpectedly became a major box office hit worldwide. Following this success, the director signed a contract with Warner Brothers to produce 3 films, the first being the sequel to Sherlock Holmes. However, Ritchie once again encountered 2 major failures, one of which was King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. The project was problematic from the very beginning. Initially, the studio planned to remake the 1981 film Excalibur, which had achieved moderate success at the time and even won an award at the Cannes Film Festival. Bryan Singer, then known for directing X-Men, was set to helm the remake. Today, Singer is more notorious for his associations with controversial parties involving underage individuals. But at the time, no one suspected such things. Therefore, the studio was eager to work with Singer. The script was already written, and they were searching for an actor capable of carrying the lead role. But in 2013, Bryan Singer's Jack the Giant Slayer flopped spectacularly. The failure was so resounding that Warner, fearing for the future of the Excalibur remake, decided to part ways with the talented director and focus on an original concept. David Dobkin, known for the hit Wedding Crashers, was brought in to direct the new film, with Kit Harington and Joel Kinnaman cast in the lead roles. Given Dobkin's previous films, which also included Shanghai Nights and The Change-Up, it was assumed that the new movie would have a strong comedic tone. While the script was being finalized, the studio grew concerned that the film's proposed budget was becoming unreasonably large and that the cast was suspiciously unremarkable. Warner executives attempted to replace Harington with Colin Farrell and Kinnaman with Gary Oldman. As negotiations with the actors were underway, someone realized that the script was outright terrible, likening it to trash. It was urgently sent back for revisions. Displeased with the replacement of Harington and Kinnaman, Dobkin decided it was the perfect time to leave, accepting an offer from Robert Downey Jr. to work on The Judge. With no director or cast, the project began to fall apart, and the studio decided to scrap this version of King Arthur. It might have ended there, but Guy Ritchie appeared at Warner Bros. With a pitch for a King Arthur movie described as The Lord of the Rings meets Snatch. The concept impressed everyone so much that it was immediately approved, and Ritchie was given full creative control. He approved the cast, composer, budget, tweaked the script, and selected filming locations. It's believed that this trust from the studio led to the film's enormous production costs. The planned budget for the movie was around $120 million. However, Guy Ritchie constructed an entire city for the shoot, complete with a network of caves, a harbor, and a castle, refusing to use the studio's existing sets. This kind of creativity is typical of artists. Among 2 candidates for the lead role, Guy Ritchie chose Charlie Hunnam. The other contender was Henry Cavill. According to Ritchie, he preferred Hunnam because Charlie looked more like a bro, whereas Cavill appeared too aristocratic for the role. The filming lasted 4 months and took place across the United Kingdom. After having a great time on set with Charlie Hunnam and Jude Law, Guy Ritchie assembled a rough cut of the movie and sent it to the studio. Production costs had exceeded $150 million, and the film's runtime was 3.5 hours. Regarding the Lord of the Rings comparison, Guy Ritchie clearly wasn't joking. Test screenings went very poorly, audiences found the film too boring, and the final third was reportedly deemed unwatchable. The studio ordered Ritchie to shorten the runtime and shoot a different ending. After all the reshoots, the budget swelled to $175 million, and King Arthur Legend of the Sword received a more fantastical ending, featuring a giant snake and a samurai-style duel against a green-screen backdrop. Originally, the film didn't include Arthur's journey into the Darklands, and it ended with an assassination attempt and 10 hints at potential spin-offs, sequels, prequels, and toy lines. A whole cinematic universe was planned, with more than just a direct sequel in mind. Despite reshoots and multiple edits, the studio couldn't achieve a more positive response from test audiences. Ultimately, they decided to cut their losses and significantly reduce the marketing budget. With such a strategy, King Arthur didn't stand a chance. In the US, the film grossed only $39 million against its $175 million budget. Internationally, it brought in another $110 million. Warner Brothers could be criticized for poor marketing support and for releasing Arthur just a week after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 hit theaters. But those excuses don't hold much weight. Even a comedy like Snatched, starring Amy Schumer, with an audience rating around 4 out of 10, outperformed Arthur. The cost of marketing that could have pulled the film out of such a deep hole of disinterest is almost unimaginable. King Arthur became Warner Bros.' biggest flop of 2017. Analysts estimate that the studio lost between $130 and $150 million on the movie, making it the most unprofitable film of the year. This catastrophic result immediately dashed all of Guy Ritchie's plans for sequels. The studio had originally planned 5 additional films. Characters like Merlin and Lancelot were deliberately left out of the first film because of these ambitious plans. They were meant to be introduced gradually. After 2 consecutive flops, Guy Ritchie had no choice but to sign on for Disney's Aladdin remake, as his career was at risk of coming to a sudden halt. It's a bit of a shame that we'll never see another movie about this King Arthur. The film had its flaws, and they weren't few, but the style, cast, dialogue, and soundtrack made it a good movie that didn't deserve the fate it met. Thank you for your attention.